Some people go their entire lives never questioning a single thought they have. They assume that if their brain produced it, it must be true. They trust their instincts completely, follow their feelings without hesitation, and never stop to wonder whether the story their mind is telling them actually matches reality. And that's exactly where the problem begins. Because your brain, as incredible as it is, lies to you. Every single day, not out of malice, not because something is wrong with you, but because the human mind was never built for perfect accuracy. It was built for survival. And survival sometimes requires shortcuts, illusions, and comfortable distortions that keep you functioning even when the truth would be too much to handle. Today, we're going to look at 7 of those lies. 7 things your brain convinces you of regularly, quietly, and with complete confidence. And by the end of this, there's a good chance you'll recognize yourself in every single one of them. Let's start with the first lie. Your brain tells you that your memories are accurate. Think about a moment from your past. A childhood birthday. A difficult conversation. A moment that changed something in you. You probably feel like you remember it clearly. The details feel real. The emotions attached to it feel undeniable. But here's what psychology has been telling us for decades. Your memory is not a recording. It's a reconstruction. Every single time you remember something, your brain rebuilds that memory from scratch. And every time it does that, it makes small adjustments. It fills in gaps with assumptions. It colors the past with how you feel right now. It edits details to fit the story you currently believe about yourself and the world. This is why 2 people can experience the exact same event and walk away with completely different memories of it. Neither of them is lying. Both of them are telling the truth as their brain reconstructed it. The problem is that reconstruction is not the same as reality. Elizabeth Loftus, one of the most important researchers in memory science, spent decades showing how easy it is to implant false memories in people. Memories of things that never happened, felt as vividly and convincingly as real ones. People remembered accidents that didn't occur, conversations that never took place, entire experiences their brain simply invented. You've done this too. Not because you're broken, but because that's how memory works. The past you carry around with you is, in many ways, a story your brain keeps rewriting. And that brings us to the second lie. Your brain tells you that other people are thinking about you far more than they actually are. You send a message and the person doesn't respond right away. You immediately start wondering what you did wrong. You walk into a room and stumble slightly, and for the rest of the night you're convinced everyone noticed and is still thinking about it. You say something awkward in a conversation and you replay it for days, assuming the other person is doing the same. They're not. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. The feeling that you are constantly at the center of everyone's attention, that your mistakes are being cataloged, that your appearance is being evaluated, that people are replaying your words the same way you are. But the truth is deeply freeing, even if it stings a little at first. Most people are far too busy thinking about themselves to spend much time thinking about you. The moment that embarrassed you lived in someone else's mind for maybe a few seconds before it was completely forgotten. The thing you've been replaying for 3 days? The other person doesn't even remember it happened. Your brain magnifies your own presence in the world. It makes you feel more visible, more observed, more judged than you actually are. And that distortion has a cost. It creates anxiety. It makes you hold back. It makes you overthink every interaction as if the whole room is watching and waiting for you to fail. They're not watching. They're surviving their own spotlight. Now the third lie, and this one is particularly subtle. Your brain tells you that your feelings are facts. You feel like someone is angry at you, so you become convinced they are. You feel like you're going to fail, so it seems like failure is inevitable. You feel like you don't belong somewhere, so that feeling becomes evidence that you genuinely don't belong. This is what cognitive behavioral psychology refers to as emotional reasoning. The process of treating your internal emotional state as proof of external reality. If I feel it, it must be true. But feelings are not facts. Feelings are data, and data can be incomplete, biased, or simply wrong. You can feel completely certain that something terrible is about to happen and be entirely mistaken. You can feel deeply unlovable in a moment and be surrounded by people who love you. You can feel like a failure in the middle of a process that is quietly taking you somewhere meaningful. The feeling is real. The interpretation the brain builds around it. That's where the lie lives. And what makes this particularly difficult is that emotions feel undeniable. They have physical weight. They show up in your chest and your stomach and your throat. When something feels true with that kind of intensity, it takes real psychological effort to step back and ask, is this actually true, or is this just how I feel right now? That question alone can change everything. The fourth lie is one your brain uses constantly to keep you comfortable. Your brain tells you that you are more logical and unbiased than other people. Everyone likes to believe they see the world clearly, that their opinions are based on facts, that they're capable of changing their mind when presented with good evidence, that they're the exception to the human tendency toward bias and irrationality. But psychology has identified hundreds of cognitive biases that affect virtually every human mind, regardless of intelligence, education, or self-awareness. Confirmation bias makes you seek out information that supports what you already believe and discount everything that contradicts it. The Dunning-Kruger effect makes people with limited knowledge in a subject dramatically overestimate their competence. Hindsight bias makes you feel, after something has happened, that you knew it all along, when you absolutely did not. These biases are not signs of stupidity. They're features of the human operating system. They exist because they were useful. Confirmation bias, for example, helped early humans make faster decisions by trusting accumulated experience rather than constantly reevaluating everything from scratch. But in a complex modern world, those same shortcuts distort your perception in ways you rarely notice. The most dangerous part? The very bias that blinds you also makes you feel like you're seeing clearly. It's almost perfectly designed to be invisible. You don't notice the filter because the filter is built into how you see. And that connects naturally to the fifth lie. Your brain tells you that avoiding something makes you safer. You avoid a difficult conversation and call it keeping the peace. You stay away from something that frightens you and call it wisdom. You don't try something new because you're not sure you'll succeed and you call it being realistic. But what's actually happening is something psychologists call avoidance reinforcement. Every time you avoid something that makes you anxious, your brain registers that avoidance as the thing that kept you safe. It doesn't learn that the thing wasn't actually dangerous. It learns that avoiding was the solution. And so the anxiety grows. And so does the avoidance. The thing you avoid starts feeling more and more threatening. Not because it became more dangerous, but because your brain kept building the case for why it was safer not to go near it. The avoidance itself is what maintains the fear. This plays out in relationships, in careers, in social situations, in creative work, in health decisions. Everywhere a person might encounter discomfort, the brain offers the same quiet lie. Just don't. And most of the time, it feels like self-protection. It feels responsible, careful, smart. But it's a trap, because the only thing on the other side of avoidance is a smaller life. The sixth lie might be the one that surprises you most. Your brain tells you that you know why you do the things you do. When someone asks you why you made a certain decision, you have an answer ready almost immediately. You have a reason. It feels coherent and true. You trust it completely. But research in psychology and neuroscience strongly suggests that most of your decisions are made before you're consciously aware of them. The conscious explanation you give afterward is not the real reason. It's a story your brain constructed to make sense of something that already happened beneath the surface. Psychologist Timothy Wilson called this the adaptive unconscious, the vast majority of cognitive processing that takes place completely outside of your awareness, shaping your emotions, your preferences, your decisions, and your behaviors without ever asking your conscious mind for permission. The explanations you offer for your own behavior are often what Wilson called confabulation, not lying. Not intentional deception, but genuinely believing a reason that was invented after the fact to create a sense of coherence and control. This is why people are often the last to understand themselves. Why someone can repeat the same destructive pattern in relationship after relationship and genuinely not know why. Why you can be completely certain of your motivations and be completely wrong about them. You are far more mysterious to yourself than you realize. And the seventh lie is perhaps the most quietly devastating of all. Your brain tells you that whatever you're going through right now, will always feel this way. When you're in pain, it feels permanent. When you're anxious, the anxiety feels like your new normal. When you're stuck, it feels like being stuck is simply who you are now. When you're grieving, it feels like grief will never lift. Psychologists call this affective forecasting, the human tendency to predict how you'll feel in the future based on how you feel in the present. And we are spectacularly bad at it. When you're sad, You overestimate how long the sadness will last. When you're in conflict with someone, you overestimate how long the tension will feel this intense. When something feels broken, your brain convinces you it cannot be repaired. But the research consistently shows that human beings are remarkably resilient. That emotions, even very powerful ones, shift. That circumstances change. That the brain itself adapts. That things which feel impossible in one season of life become simply part of the story in another. The lie your brain tells you in your hardest moments is that this is forever, and almost nothing is. So here's where we land after all of this. Your brain is extraordinary. It does things every second of every day that no technology can fully replicate. It keeps you alive. It connects you to other people. It lets you feel so deeply that a piece of music can make you cry or a memory can make you smile years after the moment has passed. But it is not a perfect mirror of reality. It is a filter, a survival tool, a storyteller with its own biases, its own shortcuts, and its own quiet agenda. The lies it tells you are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are signs that you are human. The question is not whether your brain distorts reality. It does. The question is whether you are aware enough to notice when it's happening. Because awareness is where everything changes. Not perfection. Not the elimination of all bias and distortion. Just the willingness to pause, to question, to hold your own certainties a little more loosely. The brain that lies to you is the same brain you use to recognize the lie. That's both the challenge and the invitation. Start paying attention. The truth is in there somewhere. You just have to be willing to look past what feels certain.